Okay. Today we're going to learn how to draw some flowers. We're going to do some studying of plants and flowers, make a masterpiece, and what else is there? A bonus section. If you can't already tell, we're going at 100 miles per hour through this tutorial. No time to rest, no time to blink. Why? Because I went through the painstaking effort of typing all this up in article form in a huge amount of depth on the Clip Studio Paint website. So as for the video, I want to keep it fun, and I want to go to sleep. Doing studies, the goal is always to learn more about the subject. In these 3 studies, I looked at old pictures that I took at the Bouchard Gardens last summer. For the first one, it's a funny looking plant with squiggly looking leaves. The main thing I learned is that plants can be delicate. And to draw, it's useful to utilize many S-shaped and C-shaped curves. The second one was a pain to draw. I learned a few things. Drawing individual leaves one at a time will just get you frustrated and lost, a common mistake. Second, many flowers have gradations in their petals, usually dark in the center, lighter on the outside. Third one, silhouetting is a great way to study plants and flowers. If it looks right, just pure black on a white background, you're doing good. It also helps you to focus on the negative space to get the shapes right. It's a good thing this contest happened in the month of February, because think about it, February also has Valentine's Day. So I decided, hey, instead of studying from some old pictures, why not buy some flowers, study them from life with watercolor, learn a few things, give the study and the flowers as a Valentine's gift, and document the entire thing for this video. Genius. Since this is the video focused on drawing flowers digitally, that's all the footage you're getting. But I did learn a lot from doing that life study, namely, all the things I just talked about. Seriously, study from life. It's worth it. You don't even have to use traditional media. Clip Studio Paint has an app. Okay, it's time to get into the meat of the video. A time-lapse painting of the title piece. Look, I know what you're thinking. Time-lapse. I don't learn anything from these. And there's 100 other artists that make time-lapse videos who are infinitely more skilled than you. It's true. It's true. If you're looking for something more in-depth and slower paced, then again, I recommend you check out the article I wrote alongside this video for the contest. I spent most of my time there. But in this time-lapse, I'll point out where I utilized the lessons I learned from my studies. Let's start. Okay, first off, the bad news is I lost the footage for the beginning section and the first flower painted in. That's okay, you really didn't miss much. Let's go back in time and see what we did. My layer structure, for those who are curious, is just 1 layer for the silhouette, 2 layers for the 3 flowers, the first one being the silhouette filled in white, and a clip layer on top so I don't paint over the edges of the silhouette. And the last layer is the background layer. I started off on the silhouette layer with a G pen, just outlining an interesting silhouette. There's a few indications of negative space here to help indicate that there are 3 flowers. Then on the background layer, I just outlined the entire thing with a darker green color with the oil paint brush. If you go back and even look at my traditional painting of flowers, I start off with the same way. Penciled in outline, painted background. It's good to take what you know from one area and try to apply it in another. Now painting in the flower layer. Remember, flowers are all about gradations. And for these pink peonies, the deep cool red colors lie in the crevices. The white edges of the petals catch light. To make my gradations, I primarily used 3 techniques. The first technique is an incomplete brush that you can make out of any of your favorite brushes, mimicking traditional technique. The second one is a very nice downloaded brush from the Clip Studio Paint assets for the deep reds. Third, the most common, is painting and then blending or blurring with tools like the airbrush or transparent watercolor. Now, to learn more about these techniques, please visit the article. I'm not going to go through it again, how I made the incomplete brush, but you can do it too. Just follow a few simple steps. Now let's speed things up. Notice here that I'm just utilizing those techniques for the first flower that's fully blossomed. I defined a few crevices with the known amount of saturated color and made a hard edge and a soft edge. In this initial stage, I recommend just to have fun with it. You will see things change all the time in this time lapse. For me, I get really discouraged by the white on the page, so you can start off with an underpainting to get rid of that white. I didn't do that this time, but I did try to get in some color really quickly. Okay, here's where the footage got cut out. I'm sorry about that, but there's really not much else I could have said. I just continued to refine by slowly adding in more and more crevices and petals, defining their form using gradations. To define the edge-lit petals, I used a nearly pure white G-pen tool. I think it's okay to define these early, and don't be scared of going over them and covering up later. as long as it helps you visualize what you want the end picture to be. Continue to sculpt away at it. An important thing to mention is that in all of these flowers, I didn't draw any individual petals. Perhaps if you're doing a photorealistic exact copy, that is definitely a technique you could use with a grid. However, I had no idea where my petals would be. I slowly worked not on the petals, but on the flower overall. Just having an overall idea that the flowers point in a certain direction, and that one is fully bloomed, one is midway, and the other one is just beginning to bloom. I slowly got more comfortable each flower I did, and I got faster too. The one thing I want to mention for this bottom flower here is I actually like it the most, even though it took the least amount of time. I think the two petals at the very bottom are defined enough and look like individual petals coming off the main flower. Just these two petals helped make sense of the rest of the form. So after the entire flower is finished, I applied a brightness/contrast correction as I thought it was a little too muddled. The colors didn't really pop out enough. The crevices needed to be more contrasted with the surrounding petals. If you're not sure how to do a tonal correction, check out the article. I go through it with pictures step by step. Now, working on the background, I used dark green leaves, a natural choice when drawing flowers, to contrast the bright and vibrant petals with the dark green leaves. Again, not defining individual leaves one at a time, just like the petals. If we show a few leaves, it'll help our brain make sense of the rest of the picture. I wanted to at first fill in the full background, but I thought that would be a little bit bland, so I changed my mind and outlined some individual leaves to silhouette the flowers. Be confident in making big changes, even when nearing the end. The last step was a tonal correction using tone curves. Do I have to say it again? Article in the description. I didn't like the light green leaves taking up too much attention, so this helped push them back into the background. It also gave me this interesting magenta background, which I decided to keep. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna head to sleep. Oh, I forgot. Bonus section! This wasn't included in the article because I wrote so much and I have no time, but I drew an impressionistic piece for this contest too, and I was going to talk about it. Let's cover it in the next 20 seconds. This was based off another picture I took at the Bouchard Gardens, but not really, just a small part. The rest was imagination. I laid out in pencil, making a horizontal line. This time I used very light brushes, filled in the entire page. Flowers from afar are great. I just made a few blobs so that they read as flowers, bushes, and trees. Since there's edge lighting in the scene, the trees have a yellowish green on the outside. The two figures help give the garden depth, but I really need to push the background back. Chalk in some light effects. Okay, thanks, good night.